Hey everyone, we hear this term digital economy thrown around all the time, right? But what is it, really? What's the engine behind it all? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain. We're going to look at the 4 key technologies that are literally changing everything, from how you watch movies to how you manage your money. Let's see how it all fits together.
You can just feel it, can't you? The whole economy is transforming right under our feet. So the big question is, what's actually making it happen? What are the building blocks of this digital revolution? That's exactly what we're going to dig into, the 4 essential layers that make this whole thing work. All right, so let's start at the very beginning, the fuel. In the digital economy, that fuel is data. But we're not just talking about any old data. We're talking about big data. And this is the raw material for absolutely everything that's about to follow.
So what is big data really? Honestly, it's pretty simple. It's just a gigantic amount of information. So massive, so complicated that the tools we used to use just can't keep up. They can't store it, they can't process it effectively. Think of it as the digital footprint of our entire world. Every click, every post, every transaction. To really wrap our heads around what makes big data, well, big, experts often talk about the 7 V's. First up is volume. We're talking an unbelievable amount of data, petabytes of it. Then you've got variety. It's not just neat spreadsheets anymore. It's photos, videos, audios, sensor readings, you name it. It's coming at us with incredible velocity, like a nonstop, real-time fire hose of information. But is it any good? That's veracity. Is the data trustworthy? The whole point is to find the value, right? To turn all that noise into something useful. And often we need visualization to even see the patterns. And finally, virality, which is all about how fast this stuff can spread. Okay, let's put this into perspective. The jump from what we used to call data to big data isn't just a step up. It's like going from a puddle to an ocean. We went from measuring in gigabytes to zettabytes. A zettabyte is 1,000,000,000,000 gigabytes. It's just a mind-boggling number. And it's not coming from one clean central source anymore. Nope. It's coming from everywhere. Your phone, your car, social media, all these distributed sources. And to handle that kind of chaos, you need some seriously powerful new tools. So if big data is the fuel, that begs a really important question. How in the world do we collect all of it? How do we get information from the real physical world into a computer? Well, that brings us to our second layer, the senses of the digital economy. And that's the Internet of Things, or IoT. Think of it like a giant digital nervous system, constantly feeling and sensing the world around us 24/7. The whole idea behind IoT is actually pretty cool. You take everyday objects, your thermostat, a car engine, a smartwatch, and you connect them to the internet. That's it. Suddenly, they can send and receive data, talking to each other without any of us needing to get involved. It's the bridge, really, between our physical and digital worlds. Now, for this whole network to work, a few things have to be in place. Obviously, you need connectivity. Every device needs a unique identity, kind of like a digital name tag, so we know which one is talking. But it's not just about collecting data. You need intelligence to make sense of it. The system has to be scalable, because we're talking billions of devices here. It has to be dynamic, able to adapt on the fly. And a huge one, it all has to be safe and secure. Okay, so we've got the fuel, big data, and we've got the senses, the IoT, collecting it all. We have this literal ocean of data. But, having an ocean of data is totally useless if you can't understand what it's telling you. So how do we make sense of it all? Enter the brain of the operation. This is where artificial intelligence and machine learning come into play. This is the part of the system that actually processes, analyzes, and learns from that endless stream of data. So what is AI, really? At its heart, it's about teaching a machine to learn from examples. Instead of programming it with a million if-then rules, you just show it a ton of data, and it starts to see the patterns on its own. It's what lets your phone predict a traffic jam, or Netflix recommend your next favorite show. And to really get how big of a deal this is, you have to look at how it's different from the old way of doing things. It's a fundamental shift in how we tell computers what to do. Check this out. In traditional programming, a person had to sit down and write out every single rule. If this happens, do that, for every possible scenario. It's incredibly rigid. But with machine learning, the game totally changes. You don't give it rules, you give it data. The system figures out the rules all by itself. And that's why it gets smarter over time. The more data you feed it, the better it gets. Now, you'll hear these 2 terms a lot, machine learning and deep learning.
What's the difference? The easiest way to think about it is that deep learning is like a super-powered version of machine learning. It's hungry. It needs huge amounts of data and some serious computing power, like those fancy GPUs. But the payoff is that it can figure out important features from raw data all on its own. So, how do you actually build one of these models? It's a step-by-step process, almost like a recipe. First, you collect your data. Then you got to prepare it, clean it up, get rid of the junk. Next, you choose the right algorithm for the job. Then comes the fun part. You train your model on that data. After that, you have to evaluate it, test it on new data to see how well it does. And finally, you tune it, tweaking the settings to squeeze out every last bit of performance. Okay, so let's recap. We have the fuel, the senses, and the brain. It's a powerful system, but it also raises a huge question. In a world running on digital data and AI making decisions, how can we possibly trust any of it? How do we know it's secure? That brings us to our final, crucial piece of the puzzle, the trust layer. And the technology for that is blockchain. Think of it as a shared, unchangeable digital ledger that provides security and transparency for everyone. So what the heck is a blockchain? Imagine a digital record book, but instead of one person holding it, everyone in the group has an identical copy. And every time you add a new entry, it's cryptographically linked to the one before it, creating a chain. Once something is written down, it's permanent and pretty much impossible to change without everyone knowing. The real power of blockchain comes from a few key ideas. Because the ledger is distributed, there's no single weak spot. The records are immutable, meaning they're permanent, and you can even build in smart contracts, which are like little automated agreements that run themselves. All of this creates trust without needing a middleman like a bank. Let's make this real with a quick example. Someone wants to send crypto. That's the request. That gets broadcast to everybody on the network. It then gets bundled up into a block. Now miners compete to solve a complex puzzle to validate that block. Once one solves it, the rest of the network checks their work. That's the consensus part. If everyone agrees, boom, the block is added to the chain, the transaction is confirmed, and it's there forever. So let's put it all together. It's like a formula. You take big data. That's your fuel. You use the Internet of Things as your senses to collect it. You apply AI as the brain to understand it. And you wrap the whole thing in blockchain as your layer of trust. That combination, that is the engine driving our modern digital economy. And look, this isn't some far-off future stuff. This is happening right now all around you. Every time you use a mobile wallet or any kind of digital payment, that's this system at work. When governments offer services online, or when smart cities use IoT sensors to manage traffic and save energy, these are all real-world examples powered by the very technologies we just walked through. So that brings us to the big takeaway. We've seen how these four incredible technologies are not separate things, but are layers of a single, powerful ecosystem that's rebuilding our world. And that leaves us with one final, exciting question to think about. As these tools become even more powerful, even more seamlessly integrated into our lives, what comes next? What's the next great transformation they're going to create?